Hello, welcome. I'm Andrew Gaule, and I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence, how I'm using it, and where I think it's going to transform sort of businesses. So this has come about as a number of my colleagues and clients have been asking to say, how is AI affecting them, and how have I been using it to gain business benefits and that already? So I'd like to share some insights with you, show some of the examples of where I've been using those. So let me just share my screen and hopefully the technology will work. So throughout this presentation, there's going to be some QR codes. So you can use your phone, use another device, scan the QR code, and that will take you to some additional information. So in this case, it's my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, but say where we have why you're connecting. So going through this presentation, it's going to be talking about applications I'm particularly using. I'm not going to be talking about client work that we're doing or implementations that we're recommending to organizations that are going to transform their businesses. I'll come to that later with a different video and a different workshop that we are going to be running. So what we're going to be covering in that here is the coming wave of AI. I'm then going to go through the sequence of sort of doing text creation and text analysis, creating images, doing videos, and what things you need to watch out for when you're using AI. So first of all, let's kick off with a bit of an introduction, which really draws on over 25 years of experience I've had in how tech is changing businesses. So I've pre-recorded this. This is a pre-recording. So let's kick this off and share some perspectives and that around this tech.
I'm excited to announce a new venture focused on realizing AI's massive potential. Businesses today face immense opportunity, yet many feel unsure how to capitalize on AI. Our experienced team guides organizations to transform with AI. We rapidly prototype to demonstrate AI's benefits specific to your business. Then we execute end-to-end, reshaping processes and upskilling staff. The result? Competitive advantage through increased efficiency, lower costs, and new revenue streams. This breakthrough moment demands bold vision. Let us equip you to lead in the AI era. Our talent combines business transformation excellence and AI technical skills. We cluster the expertise required to architect your AI-powered future. Let's explore how AI can propel your organization forward. I look forward to discussing further.
So that short video there was generated by AI. That wasn't me speaking. That was my avatar that I've trained. And the words that I was speaking in that video were generated by an AI system, taking content that I'd done across a number of discussions and summarizing it down to less than 1 minute in the sort of topic that I was sort of covering. So feel free to go and scan and go and watch that video and that again if the quality wasn't great coming over and that on this sort of recording. So through the next few minutes, I'm going to sort of take through the steps of how we get to creating that sort of content, and then of course what the implications of this could be for your business. So over the last 20 odd years, we've seen industries being transformed, be that like the energy industry, the car industry, is gone from traditional hydrocarbons to clean energy and sort of Tesla. So I took a group of executives to Tesla in 2008 when the first car came off the production line and emphasized how business models are going to change for that industry. We're seeing health is being transformed from hopefully not looking after sick people, but also using data to increase and enhance health and well-being. Retail, decline of the high street, the online experience being pretty poor and lots of return goods. So how can AI and how could new business models transform that industry? And more of what I'm going to be talking about today is around AI professions like accountants, consultants, investors, medical staff, human intelligence type businesses, how those have been transformed, yes, by the internet, yes, by Word documents, yes, by sort of computer analysis. But what happens when we've got general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, AI, which could do a lot of these roles? And I'm going to give some examples of those and that today. So let's start first. I've produced over 200 podcasts, and that over 12 years, speaking with executives from and investors from lots of different industries. So you can scan the QR code and you can go and see the podcasts and that from lots of different individuals and organizations that I've interviewed. So this is the example of the Apple. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Google. And you can see the sorts of executives here that I've been speaking to about topics around AI, around climate change. And the one I'd like to focus on today is John Spindler, this example here of investing in AI. So I did this, I did the video interview and that with him and turned into a podcast. So from that, of course, I had about 30 minutes of discussion. And we then transcribed that audio into text, pretty general AI type application now that's been around for some time, and took that article and put that into one of the large language models. The one I've preferred using recently is Claude, which is from Anthropic. So here you see the document, which was the transcription from the interview with John. So here it is transcribed with the ums and the ahs and the breaks and all that within it. Speaker one is John, speaker two is me. Dropping that into Claude, I then asked with these prompts, as they're called, please take the following text I'm going to provide you and answer a number of questions and give me summaries. So I asked for 5 titles, I asked to give me the profiles of the speakers, I asked to extract a summary, asked to give me some LinkedIn articles. So this, within the press of a button, is what the AI system was then able to create. So as you see, it's put some sensible titles. It's given an outline from John's brief introduction. It gave what the interview talked about, AI investments, looking at the AI landscape, about his work in the space since 2015, and the phases it's gone through. So, and it's highlighted some key topics and created a LinkedIn post on that for me. So you can see that using an AI tool is excellent at being able to analyze a document, summarize it, and sort of bring back some interaction with questions. Now, of course, you have to take care. You have to check the facts. You have to check that it's not hallucinating or making sort of things up. But generally, I've found Claude for this type of application pretty good. So you could be using it for meeting notes, summarizing, analyzing, contrasting different sort of things that you might be using for your business. So from that video interview, the next thing that I sort of use, and the AI tool that I use is video, VIDYO. There's other video editing sort of type tools and that as well. But here, take this sort of example on that now. We will see on my account a number of different interviews I've done with other executives, other people that within this sort of fields, and we can look at what it's done with John's it's provided from the longer video. It has generated a 30-second clip about the future of AI. It's created information about other sort of topics that we've come from. So here you'll see now.
Well, I'm John Spindler. I'm presently the founding partner of a little fund called TwinPath, which invests in AI-first startups in the UK. Previously to that, I was the CEO of Capital Enterprise for almost 13 years. And that's...
So you can see there that we've now got an edited clip, which has got some sensible content, an extraction from the main part. It's provided subtitles and that to it as well. And there are various templates. And I particularly like this sort of template that aligns with our sort of corporate sort of colors. So there's another application. So we've now seen about how text can be analyzed. We've seen about how videos can be created and that from it using my podcast and a type example. Here's another example now of doing document analysis. So we recently ran a very successful AI for Business Summit at Henley Business School, where we had executives and people driving sort of change in their organizations and interesting startups. So, of course, at the end of that, we asked for feedback from the participants. So here you see a simple table, Excel table, columns showing names, what they filled out on particular things like Net Promoter Score, and you see the individual sort of names and organizations and that here. So we use that. I put that into Claude. So this is a different type of format of data, a bit structured. We've seen how unstructured works with general sort of text on how it managed to get the sense and get the feeling and provide some feedback and that to me on that. Now in this example, we've taken that Excel spreadsheet and we've dropped that into the large language model to get its feedback on this sort of topic. So if we go back to the top of this, I gave it I dropped in the data from the feedback form, and here's some key. This is what the LLM said. Here's some key findings. The average Net Promoter Score was 8 out of 10, indicate most of the attendees were highly satisfied with the workshop. What were the most valuable parts that people had highlighted, and what sort of comments? So I then asked for some more information. Well, I said, thank you. And it said, I'm glad I could summarize the findings. Feel free to let me know if you need more clarification. I said, could you please take the feedback table and supplied earlier and the names of the people and their feedback and use this additional table where I provided email contacts and asked it to then provide some drafts for email. So in this example, you can see the draft of email to Dennis. Great to connect with you. Hope you found the session valuable. Based on your feedback, we discussed about his recent trip to the US, which was in that which was in the table that I sort of provided. Here you can see it didn't quite get it right, or I didn't provide the right information. In this case, it was I went to Morocco rather than he went to Morocco. So here's an example of where you need to check some of this output. But here you can see how this could be really quite customized, because now the AI is generating output, and we could program it with functions to automatically create these sort of emails and that out. So from a corpus of data, and that could be data from your customer service systems, from interactions you've had with from the individual or the organization, to generate much more customized content than you would have probably with structured, just mail merges you would have sort of done previously. So we've given some examples of editing. We've given some things of text. This is another personal example in that for me around that when I used GPT back in May, and I was organizing a trip for some friends, and that to Ireland. Now, as you've seen in some of the other examples, I think the way you interact with your large language model is really can influence the output. And my recommendation is you treat these chat discussions and in this business context as being your personal assistant. So if you have got a human personal assistant, you build up a relationship with them, you give them background of the context of what you're asking them to do, you give them feedback if you didn't quite present what you wanted them to do effectively, or if they come back with a different sort of solution that you hadn't quite thought of, either that was very good and you've learned something from that, or you need to modify what you're sort of doing. And at this sort of time, I started GPT with my discussion with GPT. I was even wanting to call them Grace, Peter, and Tony, which were the names that I came up with in discussing that with them. So let's see this example of when I was looking to do a trip to Ireland for 4 men to go. So let's look at that chat sequence of how it went that here. So let's go back to the start of the chat and say another important point is that if you're doing these things in one sort of chat sort of sequence, then the system is also learning from the sequence of the earlier chats about where it's going to focus on. So my prompt was, that's me, Andrew AN, I'm organizing a trip flying from Luton to Knock, west of Ireland Airport, and staying near Westport from the 19th to the 22nd of May. I want to do cycling, I want to climb the Reek, and enjoy the Irish music and the crack. So certainly, here's a suggested itinerary for climbing Crowpatrick, so also known as the Reek. So it knows that the mountain is called that. And it's, as well as giving the cycling and the climbing things I want, it's talking about the Irish music and the sort of crack and that's going on. So here it's picking up, suggestions about what you need to do in the sequence if you're going away on a trip. It has suggested the particular cycling sort of route that's there which is famous, that sort of in the town. It talks about what you want to do, having hearty Irish breakfasts and sort of things like that sort. So it's there giving me some itinerary. Now, great. I said, can you suggest specific pubs that do music? And here's certainly Westport is known for its lively traditional music. And here's some example of pubs. And then I ask it for recommendations of restaurants. Now, to give some context, I've got a house in Westport, near Westport, and my wife used to work for the Irish Tourist Board. And when I showed her this, she was wowed by the sequence it gave, the information it gave from the limited amount of information I gave. And the only criticism she had was that one of the places had been shut for a few weeks and had closed sort of in April. But of course, the data that the chat GPT had been trained on was a bit out of date. And we know about how these things are catching up. And now they can also access the internet and that as well. But we were bowled over by this. I think there's an interesting one of the points I want to make here is that how is travel going to change in the future? If I wanted to do this previously, would I have to go and look at tourist board websites, or would I going to have to look at TripAdvisor, or would I going to have to look at Airbnb and sort of things of that sort? So is there a business model change that's going to be happening in these in this sort of sectors? So onward here to just clarifying some more information and that about locations and it providing links and that to websites. Now let's take another sort of example. So continuing on this now, it was a great trip. So could you please recommend a weekend trip for a group of 4 ladies featuring spas, leisure and restaurants? Glad to hear the previous trip was enjoyable. For the ladies' weekend, here's some examples of the different locations. And then that's great. I like the sound of Killarney. Please give a full weekend program for that. Okay, so here it is, going into the particular locations. talking about the sort of facilities and that. Now, again, a bit of warning in that here, you do need to check the facts of these things. And now the systems are getting better, and some of them can also give links to websites and that as well. So you can go off and see those sorts of things. But ChatGPT S, which is the new version, which was launched in just a few days ago in early November, now gives functionality that you could build your own, that you can do, you can have additional up-to-date information being brought into those areas. So let's try another example. Great. Could you please recommend a weekend trip for couples to go on in Dublin? So my system is probably going a bit slow because of the video and that here. So romantic weekends, picked up about couples sort of going, Temple Bar for the atmosphere, then some of the old history sort of sites with Trinity College, Dublin Castle, Dublin flea markets. So there you can see quite a new itinerary in that, and I can go into asking more information on that there as we were talking about. So just before we go on here, so we've now seen how text is really powerful for summarizing documents, creating content. We've seen how we need to check some of the facts maybe, and we've seen an example in travel, but we could also see maybe in retail on how you interact with customers, or in the professional services sort of type sectors, where the power now of this information that's now available in these trained neural networks is so powerful to be able to create content, and that in the text sort of type base. Now let's go and look at, we're now going to look at creating images. So in this example here, we're going to be, I've used the chat. I've given it a description of something that I want to create an image in that of. So here I'd like DALL-E, which is the ChatGPT, the OpenAI image generation sort of tool, which is now available in ChatGPT. It was a bit of a faff to be able to do that a few weeks ago when it was a separate sort of type system, but now you can interact with text. So I've asked it to create me an image. Please provide the text for me to be able to create an image to put into DALL-E. So I'm running an artificial intelligence capability session, what the agenda is going to be about. So can you provide the brief to DALL-E? So here you can see the example of the theme is around interactive session around AI. What's the background going to look like? What's the foreground going to look like? This is its suggestions. What's the sort of text and colors in that one to be? Of course, if I wanted to say, I want to create an image to represent my trip to Westport, I'd like it to be done in soft pastel art type image, then it would create me the briefing and that for that. Now let's look and see what the image generation AI system did when I created that, when I put that sort of text and that in. So So here, put in what I'm trying to do, create a promotional image for Amovar's AI strategy implementation workshop. And here's the first two images it's created. Now, AI image creation has become a lot more powerful over the last number of months, and it won a photography competition earlier this year. Some of you might have seen that, of a sepia image of two women, and the judges hadn't distinguished it from a human photo to a generative one. So the quality of the images are getting better. It's still quite poor at the moment of incorporating text into images, which I find a bit strange in that at the moment. But still, here's the first iteration in that of it. And then I asked, I prefer image 2, but the text spelling is not correct. Please regenerate and check the text spellings. And it tried again, but it didn't get it right, as you can see. So I said, please generate, but remove the text, just images and that for it. So here's the images that it created in that this time. And you can get it to reiterate it. So those were the images that it created from the first attempt. And then I downloaded that image to use, and that within the document. So you can see here about generating images as well. So imagine this for marketing, for creating materials. And now, of course, AI is being able to create, avatars and images, of models wearing different types of clothing or different sort of designs without having to make the sort of clothing, or without having to use, so you can use these images for multiple different types of individuals, different genders, different races, and for different examples and that of your thing, of your products. So here now, we've got to the point of sort of talking about the avatars. The one I opened the session with my avatar speaking words that were generated by the sort of AI. So this is the application that I use that with. So this is my avatar, which is now being created. So I provided the system with about 2 minutes of me speaking, as I am now, as you can see, sort of with the sort of background. And then we can then drop the text in, and it created that very human looking, lip synced, and in your voice tone. So here are other options, and that these avatars, you can have male, female, different genders, standing, sitting. So you can create now content for your training, for your marketing, and all those things with content that's being created, and with your help with AI, and then putting those in. So that's the example, and that from HeyGen. And here we've got a Spanish example, which is under this sort of QR code, of where I've done a similar video from the first introduction one. And let's sort of see how this now looks.
Here's an example of using AI to translate my speech and talk about business. So the first one is speaking in English, and the next one is me speaking in Spanish, which has been transformed by to change the whole world, society, and different sectors. The next AI wave is going to be bigger and faster than previous waves of technology change. Inteligencia artificial. La IA va a transformar los negocios y la sociedad en los próximos años. Internet impulsó cambio desde finales década de 1990. Creó nuevos modelos de negocio con personas como Jeff Bezos de Amazon y Jack Ma de Alibaba en China. La próxima ola de IA tendrá tecnología que brinda el potencial para una nueva cadena de valor innovadora que conecta estas tecnologías.
So in that example, you can see that I recorded the English version, and then I got the system to, using the same video, and you could see the way I was deliberately doing my hand motions and that there. It then translated to the Spanish. Now we are going to be able to do this in real time and we're going to be able to do it in lots of different languages. On this platform, there's already a dozen different sort of languages you can do it. So imagine again being able to take your content, advisory content, advertising content, marketing content, and being able to customize it for the particular customers and for the particular regions and that you're wanting to do your business and that within. So this is AI, video AI, the new type of interaction, or is it deep fake? And of course, it can be used for not good purposes. I'd like to recommend a couple of books. Here is Kai-Fu Lee's AI 2041. Kai-Fu Lee was Google's man in China. He's also written another very good book, AI Superpowers. But this book, AI 2041, he looks 20 years ahead and he's got 10 visions of the future. The first half of each chapter is a science fiction writer he's collaborated in that with to outline what's happening in autonomous vehicles, quantum computing, education. So in the education one, I had a meeting with the head of my daughter's school, 1,400 secondary school pupils, and was discussing with her about how they're now trying to incorporate AI into the teaching and how they can teach young people to effectively use it and not just plagiarize, but use it as an empowerment and that for them. And I gave her this book and recommended she looked at the chapter about education, which had avatars which became the friend and tutor of the pupil, and that avatar was able to customize the learning, customize their interaction and that with their partner to enhance their learning and to work with their particular requirements. Now, this book was written a couple of years ago by Kai-Fu Lee, looking 20 years ahead. And from what I'm seeing and what I'm demonstrating today, we can see that education and that is pretty near there now. And the technology is pretty close. It's really about how society and teaching is going to change, just like we're going to see businesses changing. The other book is The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman and Michael Basko. Now, Mustafa was the founder of DeepMind. And in this book, he talks about the challenges now with AI and things like DNA manipulation, that now how do we manage the threats and how do we constrain the power of this sort of stuff. My conclusion from reading it, which I also discussed with Michael Basko when I was at an AI summit in Oxford a couple of weeks ago, was it's the good actors, I believe, now need to be implementing AI and getting the business benefits and benefits to society soon on medical things, in business, in productivity and things like that. Because if we don't, we won't have made the wealth to be able to manage and regulate and learn about AI that bad actors might be using in that here, and cleaning up the mess that those bad actors might make. Another book or couple of books I would of course recommend is my books on purpose to performance, innovative new value chains, where I outline how technology is changing business models in various industries, and AI is going to be a massive impact, and that on is going to be a massive changer in that within this area. So a few things just to recap. So AI is a very powerful tool, but you need to take care. One, about hallucination or creativity. The AI systems generally want to give you an answer, and it can make up very credible type answers, but you need to check whether those make sense, and whether it's not just making stuff up, and tell it, feed back to the system and say, assistant, really, what was the facts behind this? And often they'll come back, oh, sorry, no, I haven't got the facts behind that. So you do need to check it. But sometimes it comes up with ideas that are really quite creative that I hadn't sort of thought of. Do fact checking. You can use tools like I mentioned below, Bing and Bard. They connect and do link searches and that as well. And the new versions of ChatGPT and that are better now in creating links and that. So if you're creating documents or analyzing documents, my preference at the moment is Claude, but ChatGPT 4 has now become more powerful. Data confidentiality. Now, these systems have got enterprise versions. And if you're doing programming with APIs connecting to the systems through those, then, and you're paying for those, then your confidentiality is a lot better. Going and doing in these free systems, then of course, and somebody said, I think Andreessen Hornison said, if it's free, you're the product. So you might be helping to train the systems, and also your data is going into these systems, which are then sort of changing. So there are ways around it, and there's ways of being more safe. So feel free to get in touch to find out how you do that and make your systems and that more sensible. So use the right tools. So Microsoft is going to be embedding OpenAI into its Microsoft product shortly, and they have Copilot. So there'll be some of these things will be there within your Office sort of tools and that already. Google is already working, and you can now access your Google Drive and that through the through their one. And I've done some trials of that. So, for example, my over 200 podcasts, having that all in one place, I can now ask the questions about, well, give me some insights about how I invest in early stage startups. And it will look at the interviews that I've done and that over the years and say, oh, such and such talked about this at this time and talked about this application. So it's drawing on knowledge that I've already created and knowledge that's there, but bringing that together in a more engaging in that way and drawing that on there. So bringing my intelligence up and my insights and my learning and that up. I think there's also going to be interesting things on being able to analyze documents, pitch documents, and sort of stuff like that, which I've also been using, but for confidentiality and relevance, I haven't gone into those sort of examples in that today. So hopefully that's given you some insights on where I'm using AI tools and how you can see it improves my productivity and my output. For organizations who want to drive their AI strategy and implementations, feel free to get in touch. And I'm very happy to discuss in more details how this can be brought into your organization, where your strategy needs to be developed, where you can do proof of concept in a safe way and a way that will show to your business how it can be improved. We are running a webinar on the 28th of November. Myself and Dermot Hill, a colleague, we're going to be going into this more business strategy and implementation. So please feel free to get in touch and link to get that, and feel free to reach out to me to learn more about this and how AI can improve your business and is going to transform society in lots of ways. So thank you very much for your looking at this, and I look forward to getting in touch.
Please do email andrew.gaule@aimofr.com or connect on LinkedIn and say where you found us. Thank you.